Hi everyone and welcome to Triple M Adventures with Bill. This video is to help you set a quadcopter up in your RadioMaster TX16S. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all the settings in Companion, and then we will restore the models back to the radio, and then I will go through the settings on the radio. It will be far quicker for me to type everything in on Companion than it would be on the radio. But you will then see the screens on the radio, so this should help you set up a quadcopter. Now let's switch over to Companion, and the first page we're going to look at is Setup. First thing we need to do is to make sure we're in the correct radio, because I've got 3 radios in Companion, and so there's the TX16S, we're in the right one. Now we are going to open up the last backup, which is here, and now what we need to do is add a model. In the model type in Companion we can actually pick Multi-rotor, which we can't pick on the radio, and I'm not quite sure why, but we can't. Wait, first thing we need to do is to put the model's name in, and in this case it's going to be MX-C349 Taken. Okay, we're going to click multi-rotor, then we click next. Now let's just check my channel mapping. Channel 3 is throttle, that's correct. Yaw is channel 1, that's correct. Pitch is channel 2, and then roll channel 4. So that is the correct channel mapping for my setup, so you'd have to check this. Next. Now we can now select a timer, which in my Taken I do use a timer, and we're going to go next. So we can check everything through, make sure everything's okay, check the OK box and say finished. Now this is where the work starts. We need to double click on there. Okay, and we can then put the spelling in completely. There we go. Okay, the first thing, we can see that our throttle's there, but we don't have a time. So with the Taken, I set the timer for 4 minutes. We've got the correct timer, the throttle one, and then I want to pick voice here, and I'd like a minute call. And persistent, I'm going to change to flight. Everything else looks okay. Now we go down to the warnings. Now in the warnings, this is when you turn your radio on. If you happen to leave the throttle forward or a switch in the wrong position, it gives you a switch warning. Now because I put my arm switch, I have my arm switch forward for armed and back for disarmed. So in other words, I can keep my finger on it on the radio and click and it's off. So here I need to reverse SF and put it in the back position or the position towards me. So that will be my correct setting. Now with the Taken I use crossfire, so I'm going to go down to the external module, turn on the TBS crossfire, and everything's good there, and that's that page completed. We've done the first page. Next thing to do is set up our flight modes. Now we click on flight modes. Now in the default one, now this is set up this way so that the screen displays everything I want to do. It's not it doesn't appear to be logical that you just put disarmed, armed and then the flight mode. So they have to be in a certain order, so they will always show you. So if it doesn't matter which flight mode I'm in, it will say it's disabled. It's disarmed, beg your pardon. So anyway, let's switch over and I'll show you what to put in. The first flight mode is horizon. And we don't need to put anything else in here. We go to flight mode 1, and flight mode 1 is disarmed. And we have to pick the switch, the correct switch in the correct position. And in my case, it's SF back, or SF towards me, as far as it will go. So there we go, that's SF. Now that should be everything in that mode. Now we go to the mode 2, and in mode 2, that is turtle. That's how I get turtle mode. And we need to pick the switch. My switch is SD in the middle position. So we scroll down, SD in the middle position. Mode 3, well, one thing I forgot to mention is the modes do start from 0. They don't start from 1. Okay, mode 3 is angle. So that would be angle mode. And the switch for angle is SE in the middle position. And then flight mode 4 is acro. And this will be SE switch in position forward. And the final mode I have on this quad is buzzer mode, which is number 5. So we're going to type in buzzer. Buzzer, whoops. We're going to type in buzzer. And that is on switch SC, switch C centered. Okay, that should be all my float modes. I'm just going to quickly check through those. Okay, all of my modes are good. Now we're going to go on to inputs. Now we need to take a look at the inputs page, and you'll see there we already have the yaw, pitch, roll and throttle. Now we need to add the inputs for our arm switch and our mode switch. So on the first line, we are going to double click the i5 with your mouse, and here we're going to say arm, and then we're going to give it the name, which will show, and it's armed. The switch that we pick is switch SF. This is the switch that I use. So the source has to be switch F, and then at the bottom here we need to select which position this switch would be in. Now to be armed, it needs to be back towards me, so we've got to find S, switch F, and that is back towards us. Okay. Then we click OK. Now we need to duplicate this line, and so we have disarmed as well. Now if you click left once and then right click and say lines and duplicate this line. So now we can double click on it. We're going to say now disarmed. Disarmed won't fit, but disarm. It's the same switch, but this time the switch is going to be forward. So we just change, all we have to do is change the switch and then go OK. Bill from the future, I noticed in post that I'd labelled the armed and disarmed switches the wrong way round. The first one should be disarm and the second one should be armed. Now there we have our armed and disarmed switch set up. Now we need to set up our modes. So we go to i6, double click, and here we can put mod. We can input 3 letters, and in the first line we're going to say horizon. I don't think the full spelling will fit there. We can't do that. Then we need to pick our switch, and our source for this switch is switch E. So switch E. There we go. And now we need to give it its position. And that will be the switch E back towards me. E back towards me. That should be correct. Okay. Now again, we can do the same as we did before. We can duplicate that line. So we just left click once, right click, say lines and duplicate. We might as well do the third one. So right click lines and then duplicate. So this will be in the switch in the middle position. So we double click. So we're going to change that. And in the middle position, mine is angle mode. So angle. And then we change the switch here to switch center. And we go OK. Then the last one is going to be the switch forward. And this is going to be acro. Acro. It's the same switch, but this will be the switch forward. And then we say OK. Now, all the weights have to be at positive 100, so we should be good to go there. That's our inputs set up. Now we move on to the mixes screen. And if we change to mixes, and you can see we've got our primary mixes there, which are our throttle, roll, yaw and pitch. We then need to add armed, the flight modes, and then flip and beeper. So let's switch over and do this. Okay, we're going to go to channel 5. I'm going to double click. Now in here, this one is going to be our, I'm just going to call it arm. We then need to pick the switch, which will be SF, switch F. Switch SF, and that should be everything we need to do. Okay, that isn't everything we need to do. Our arm switch, this should be minus, a minus figure. There we go, and we can say OK. Right. The next channel, channel 6, is our flight mode. So we double click. We're going to call this modes. We're going to change the switch to SE. Switch E. There we go. The weight should be plus 100, and that should be everything we need to do in there. Now we move on to channel 7. And in here we type flip. The switch is SD. SD. And that is everything. Then we go into the final channel, channel 8. We double click. This should be called, we can call this beeper. The switch for the beeper is switch C. Switch C. And the weight is a positive 100. And it's the same. The only one we had to put the minus weight on was for the armed over there. Okay, we can click OK. Now that's everything for our mixes. Now we're on the home straight. Now let's go back over to the computer. There is nothing for us to do in outputs or curves or logical switches. The next thing we have to do is special functions. Now there are a lot of special functions I've got here, but let me go through them. This is the full setup for my TACAN. So SF1 is going to be used for the timer. So I need that on H, switch H and back. So switch H, back. There we go. I'm going to click on this arrow and I'm going to look for reset. Okay, and timer 1 is correct and we're going to turn it on. Then we move on to the armed sounds. Okay, so the first one we're going to put in is armed, and that is going to be SF forward, SF forward, and we're going to click there, play track, and then we're going to pick the track. And now I'm going to have to find that is armed. Armed, there we go. And I can play it. Armed. Because I have all the sounds and the pictures and everything on my computer, so it can pick those sounds up. Right, next one to do is disarmed. Okay, and that's going to be switch, SF, back, should be that one, play track, and now we're looking for disarm. I'm going to use page down to go quickly. On your radio this takes quite a time. Whoops, too far. Okay, so we're looking for disarm, enter, and we can play.
Disarm motors.
Now we're going to set up the modes. And the modes, the first one we're going to set up is the acro, which is SE forward. SE forward. And we're going to click play track. And this we're looking for acro. So it should be acro. Okay, we can test.
Acro.
Perfect. Next one is going to be angle mode. So that will be the switch SE in the middle position. Switch E in the middle position, play track. Play track. And this one we're looking for is angle. So let's go page down. AN. Should be that one. No, angle mode. There we go. And we can test.
Angle mode.
Correct. And the next one is going to be horizon. So that's switch SE back. SE back. There we go. and play track, and this one is horizon, so we've got to go down to... Now this is a lot quicker to do on the computer in Companion than it is on the radio, because you have to just keep scanning down with the scroll wheel and it takes some time. Oops, too far. Horizon mode, there we go, and we can test.
Horizon mode.
Great. Okay, next thing is the reset for the timer, and that is SH back towards us, there we go, and this will then be play track, and this one will be reset. Reset, there we go, and if we play,
Reset.
okay, good. And the next one is the turtle mode, and the first one we need is SD in the center, switch D in the center, and again play track, and this one is, if I remember rightly, this is a sound that I made up. It should be TURON. That should be the one. Let's test.
Turbo mode on.
Correct. Then the next one is SD forward. And we play track again. Play track, and we select, this again is turn, I'm going to use the page down button to quickly whiz down. There you go, it should be that one there. Okay, we can test again.
Turbo mode off.
Here we go. That's turtle mode. Next one we need to do is buzzer. And the buzzer is on SC in the center. Switch C in the center. And again, play track. Play track. And then we need to go to B. Whoopsie-daisy. Yes, it will be at the bottom. Buzzer. There we go. Buzzer, push enter, we can test.
Buzzer.
Now, I've set the buzzer up to play buzzer in both the middle position and the back position as well. So let me just set that up as well. So that's going to be SC in the back position. So we'll just repeat this. Test again.
Buzzer.
Okie dokie. Now we have to set an override up for channel 7, which is the turtle mode. So this is going to be switch D in the center. We have to override channel, but we've got to choose channel 7. Okay, in the parameter we need to put 100, and we need to activate it and turn it on. That should be all of the functions we need. There is a couple of things. We can go back to the turtle mode up here, and if we go over to repeat, we can select there, play once, not during startup, which will mean that when we turn our radio on, it won't go through all of these sounds. So we can do that with that turtle mode on and turtle mode off. Let's do that. And then the buzzer one, where's the buzzer one? We can set that up for 15 seconds. So both of the buzzer ones. Whoops. Now that should be everything in Companion. We can now upload that model to the radio. I want to quickly go back to the first setup screen because I missed something out there that I would like to show you. So if we go to setup, if we go to the image, because the images are on my computer in the SD card contents folder, if I click this arrow, I can then look for the Taycan picture. They're not in any particular order. There we go, Taycan. And there we go. The picture pops up. So now we've got the picture on there. Now let's restore this model to the radio. Okay, we switch over to the computer. We can push close. Now you can see the Taycan is there. We need to now save this. So we've got to go File and Save. So now that backup is saved. We can check that by closing the backup and then reopening it. Going to Recent Files and opening it, and it should be there. Now let's restore the models. Now what we need to do is turn our radio on.
Welcome to OpenTX.
Okay, and plug it into our computer. And then pick USB storage SD on your radio. Okay, and you can hear the computer detected it. Okay, let's write the models and settings back to the radio. We click this icon here, write models and settings to radio. And that should be it. It should be done. Now we just need to unhook our radio from the computer, hit the enter key, model select, and yes, it's there. The Taycan is on the radio. I can't show you, so I don't know if you'll see this, but it is there. Now let's take a look at the settings on the actual radio, and just in case you haven't got a computer and you don't want to use Companion. We'll go through each of the screens and I'll show you what the settings are to set up my Taycan. Now there can be variances with different quadcopters, but this gives you the basics for how to set the quadcopter up. So let's switch over to the radio and the overhead camera, and I will go through the settings. Now let's take a look at the settings on the radio to set up a quadcopter. I'm going to hold the model key down and you can see the name of the model. You can see where I selected the picture, the timer at 4 minutes, and the throttle's name and persistent flight. Now, the rest of the things we need to do here are when you're going to bind. Now, because I use Crossfire for the Taycan, you can see I've got the mode set as CRSF. And that will be everything in that window. Now we hit the page right, and you can see how modes. So all you'd need to do is go down each one and set up, put the name in, and then set up the way the switch operates. So armed.
Disarm motors. Angle mode. Horizon mode. Angle mode. Acro.
Okay, so you can see all the switches working. So you would just go and type in those settings. Then we go to, now we're in inputs, and you can see the primary inputs which would already be there from setting up a standard model. And then we go down to armed. Now let me just edit each one and show you the screen so that if you wanted to copy this from the video, you'll be able to do it. So there is the armed. I'm going to go down to the disarmed. So there are your disarm settings. Then I'm going to go to the modes. So horizon mode, and you can see all your settings there. Then we go down to angle, edit, and there you can see all the settings there. And we go down to the final one, which is acro. And there you can see all the settings there. So if you copied the screen, you should be okay. Okay, next one we're going on to is the mixes. And you'll see the primary mixes are already there, channel 1, 2, 3 and 4. And then you can see the mixes I put in to be able to do ARM. So again, excuse me. So let's just go through those. Edit. There's the screen for the ARM. And then we go to the modes, channel 6. There's the settings you need to put in there for the modes. Then we go to flip or total mode. There you can see the settings there. And then we go down to beeper on channel 8. And there we go. Now we are going to move on to outputs, which there is nothing. We don't need to put anything in there. Or in the curves, or in the global variables, or in the logical switches. And now we take a look at the special functions. Okay, the first one is to reset the timer. The next one is for armed.
Disarm motors.
Okay, the next one is your modes. The next three are modes, which are
Angle mode, horizon mode, angle mode, acro.
okay. Then we go on to the reset, which is actually for the timer.
Reset.
Then the next two are for the turtle mode.
Turbo mode on. Turbo mode off.
And then we've got the buzzer, which I've done in two positions,
Buzzer.
just so that you know it's on. I'd set this up this way because I lost one of my whoops and I couldn't find it, and I didn't know if the buzzer was on. So if you flick the switch, it tells you the buzzer's on. And I was too far away to hear it. Okay, and then we've got the override for channel 7, and channel 7 is your turtle mode. So you need to set up that line. And that's everything. That's all the settings that you need to put into your radio to set up a quadcopter. I do hope you found this video helpful, and it's helped you figure out how to set up your models with OpenTX on your TX16S. Thanks for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you really enjoyed it, please subscribe to my channel. And if you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Happy flying. Bye for now. Bye.